I don't know what she was asking for. Good morning, Budget and Finance. Robert Willie coming to you live from the office as a KOOC.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us here on the call. Thank you to our members who are here in person and also joining us online. Thank you, Ms. Napai and Ms. Nelson, for also being here with the Budget and Finance Committee. Today is May 16, 2023, and today the Budget and Finance Committee is meeting at our regular time for our regular meeting. Thank you again for everyone on the teleconference. We are meeting on the Zoom ID 232-628-2566. Our passcode is 86515. We have members here in the conference room and also online. We just got done meeting with the Office of the President, Vice President this morning. Thank you to Vice President John Montoya and Chief of Staff Patrick Sandoval, and also staff from the Office of the President and Vice President for meeting with the Budget and Finance Committee this morning. So we will conduct business. We're going to call the meeting to order at 10:20. Now, Ms. Nelson, can you help us with today's roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navigation Council, May 16, 2023. Honorable Prosecutor?
Present.
Honorable Prosecutor is present. Honorable Shanti Harris?
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Shanti Harris is present. Honorable Seth Damon?
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon is present. Honorable Andrew Kinsbach-Carter?
Thank you.
Honorable Amber Kinsbach-Carter?
Thank you.
Honorable Elizabeth Crowder just stepped out.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Amber Kinsbach-Carter is here, but she stepped out. Honorable Norman M. Gay.
This is Lamardo. I'm present.
Okay, thank you. Mardo Esra is present. Honorable Norman M.
Here.
Thank you. Honorable Norman M. Gay is present. Honorable Amber Kinsbach-Carter.
I'm present at 8.
Thank you, Mr. Deja. Honorable Amber Kinsbach-Carter is present. Madam Chair, we have 6 members, 6 members present upon roll call. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's roll call. Thank you, Budget and Finance Committee, for being present today. I'll give a short invitation to start our meeting. Dear Father, we thank you for another day of the nomination and the nomination. We look forward to today's proposed agenda and to serving the nomination. We pray for the Vice President, the President of the nomination, also the Speaker of the Nomination Council, members of the 25th Nomination Council, and the Chief Justice, and all the nomination employees. May you bless them as we all work for the betterment of our people. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Let's go on to item 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee, do we have anybody? I'd like to recognize our lovely member from the Office of the Speaker today. Thank you for being here, and also Ms. Nakai and Ms. Nelson for being with us today. I believe we also have from the Office of the President and Vice President, Ms. Sarah Slim. Ms. Slim, are you on the line? Second call for Ms. Sarah Slim. Third call for Ms. Sarah Slim. Okay, just checking to see if Ms. Slim is on the line. Is anyone from the Office of the President online? Okay, just checking. Okay, members, do we have anybody else we'd like to recognize this morning? Let's move on to item 3, review and adopt the agenda. Ms. Napai, can you read today's proposed agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. This is your proposed agenda of the Budget and Finance Committee of the Nomination Council, May 16, 2023. It's a regular meeting via teleconference and in person. Presiding is Shanti Parish, Chairperson, Carl R. Slater, Vice Chairperson. Vice Budget and Finance Committee, conference room, Window Off, nomination one, call the meeting to order, the roll call meeting invitation two, recognize guests and visiting officials. Three, review and adopt the agenda. Four, review and adopt the journals, and there are none. Five, receive reports. Eight, written report, judicial branch, ARPA expenditure plan, presenter is Karen Francis, acting administrator of the courts, judicial branch. The FY 2024 budgeting process update on the DIM. Presenter is Dominic Vial, Director, Office of Management and Budget. C, FY 2024 revenue projection. Presenter is Sean McCabe, Controller, Office of the Controller. 60697, new business, A, legislation number 095-23. B, legislation number 0097-23. C, scheduling a leadership meeting with Speaker Curley regarding legislative branch ARPA funds or a consultant for Budget and Finance Committee. 8, close of the session, written announcements, adjournment. The next meeting is June 6, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Nafai. Do we have a motion to adopt today's agenda? Shredded Delegate Amber Knopf, crowding motion. Do we have a second? Delegate Begay seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any questions, amendments, modifications to today's agenda? Delegate Amber Knopf, crowding.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Appreciate the prayer, Division Committee members. I'd like to see if we can modify the agenda to add a consent agenda for the legislations 095-23 and 097-23, and to add that consent agenda before the reports. If I'm in order, that would be my motion. I believe both of the delegates or sponsoring delegates are on the line. Thank you, Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
Shredded. Ms. Nafai, do you have a comment?
Yes, members of the Budget and Finance Committee have been notified by text that legislation number 95-23 will require an amendment.
Oh, okay.
And OLC is working on that amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Nafai, for the comment. Turn the time back over to Shredded Delegate Amber Knopf, crowding.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So I will modify my motion, and it will not be a consent agenda, but to move new business number 7 before receiving reports number 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Shredded, do we have a second for the motion? Okay, main motion, or the motion for amendment 1, or for to modify the agenda is held by Delegate Amber Knopf, crowding, seconds by Vice Chair Slater, to move new business A and B and C, is that correct?
A, B, and C.
In front of item 5 to receive reports. Do we have any other questions for the amendment? I hear our second call for questions regarding amendment 1 to the agenda. Third call, if you're none, Ms. Nelson, can you help us with taking the roll call vote for amendment 1?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll call vote on amendment number 1. Mark Esseret, how do you vote? Mark
Green.
Esseret. Thank you, Mark
Green.
Esseret. Green. Norman Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Norman Begay votes green. Amber Knopf, how do you vote?
Charlotte, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Today's Honorable Amber Knopf, how do you vote green? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Madam Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking the vote on amendment 1. The amendment moves forward. So back to the main motion to review and adopt the agenda. We do have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions regarding the proposed agenda? call? Third call? I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can you help us with the roll call vote for to adopt today's agenda with Amendment 1?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call on the main motion. Mauro Esser, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Mauro Esser votes green. Arnold Norman McGay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Arnold Norman McGay votes green. Honorable African Esbat Cardi, how do you vote?
Green, thank you.
Thank you. And Honorable African Esbat Cardi votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Seth David, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Seth David votes green. Madam Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposed. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's vote. And members, it appears that we have an agenda for today, so let's move on to item 4, review and adopt the journals. We have none, so we're going to move on to new item 5, which is new business, and we will hear our first legislation number 009523. Ms. Nakai, can you read the legislation into record?
Thank you. This is a proposed Navajo Standing Committee Resolution 25th Navajo Council First Year 2023, introduced by Herman Daniels, Junior Prime Sponsor, tracking number 0095-23, an action relating to the Resources and Development and Budget and Finance Committees approving a change in Cap Rate 518 Exhibit D for the Kin chapter by deleting remaining funds from the chapter solid waste transfer station project in funding year 3 and adding the funds to house wiring projects in year 3. And so the exhibits that are referenced in the legislation are there. Let's see, exhibit 2 shows the citizen project amendment certification. They're all signed off. And then exhibit 3 are the budget forms that show the change in the budget. The memo from the Legislative Council, the Internet Public Review, has no comments. The Resources and Development Committee has a due pass with no amendments. And that's the reading of the legislation number 0095-23.
Thank you, Ms. Nakai, for reading the legislation into record. Before we take the motion, I want to know if the sponsor is on the call. Honorable Delegate Herman Daniels, are you on the call?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is Council Delegate Herman Daniels. I'm online.
Yes, welcome. Colleagues, do we have a motion for legislation 009523?
No, ask if the is ready.
Okay. Before we take the motion, I'm going to ask if the sponsor, Delegate Herman Daniels, we are aware that there's an amendment that is being prepared. Which staff from the Office of Legislative Counsel is preparing the amendment today? Laureline? Is Laureline
Good morning.
available?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm working on it. I need less than 10 minutes to do this. I'm also preparing a directive.
Okay, thank you, Laureline. Thank you again to the sponsor for being on the call. Okay. Shadow Delegate Amber Hernandez Karate, motion. Do we have a second?
So the next one, the next one first. And then,
Okay.
are you open to that? Do the title 40 and we'll come back to this one.
Can we do that with our agenda?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll just recognize the other.
I mean, we have the sponsors, I don't know how we can move it. It's not receiving a motion, so it's an action from the committee. He could present. Yes.
I second.
I do have some questions, because this is supposed to be administratively now. Like, we're still seeing legislation when we directed them last council.
We change the law.
Vice Chair Slater seconds the motion. Colleagues, do you have any questions regarding the legislation?
Chair, I'd like to hear a presentation for exactly 10 minutes or however long that it'll take to draft the amendment.
Okay, Mr. Fahim, we will hear from the sponsor while we're waiting for the amendment. We're gonna turn the time over to Honorable Delegate Herman Daniels for presentation of the legislation.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. Kudo Senat Senegi, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Honorable Slater, and members of Budget and Finance Committee. This morning, thank you for the prayer this morning. His staff, the Office of Legislative Counsel. I just want to thank you guys. I'm here on behalf of Apikin chapter, and with me today on the call is Mr. Earl Sombrero, Apikin chapter manager. You have before you have legislation 0095-23. This particular legislation is requesting for a change in CAP 3518. Solid waste transfer station funds to be transferred to house wiring project in year 3. So the applicant chapter. I'm going to give some time to my agent, Mr. Earl Sombrero. My agent, Madam Chair, in general, this legislation, so at this time, I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Sombrero, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, we were on mute on our side. Delegate Herman Daniels, yes, we'll allow Mr. Sombrero to present today.
Oh, yeah, it's good to finally see you again. Though are there not no finicky. Bedak egit ayat ben nagidish nido shady ya needed as a G. My name is Earl Sombrero. I don't can to cheat in Schnedo be Petoni Bashin Kia Ani dash Chedo is a plan national. Bedak egit ayat egit nido are there nice or tiny ado here do quite hit Sabe no di ni dato nikheji hidden nagi shama Mrs. Kenas Bar Kradi yat eshamando. I don't die by case in Zinki, Mr. Slater. Okay, yat eto here. I don't we had a project within our community that electrified 23 homes. The project is currently completed. However, we still are lacking the money to pay out our consultant that did the house wiring services. According to way back last year, now so the it's the Nebuchadnezzar or Yetish name there other opus naso de shija I think that Edna has kind of legend or yet. Okay, AD the height out the better chedod auto in the Yabichin or yes, when Zenoya Bansakis go ben Yaquedo Taho Endo the face on the way. The wages zay because our based up in Yahas and the Nagika, but ando the Quajibi dot the Ado Chido is the snow ya that no ya quado. What I even Yaquado Sabe, no, did I again had the dog needs that no the question is kind of how you call it quite I don't echo the inch and the should not ask but the snow it or you know what out to the suspect ego but card and Aja pesos in the lagi now a dot the hoti could dot but edo hot additional. Yeah, edo Asian amendment, Asian not only. Although I also requested that there be a directive given to have those funds allocated as soon as possible so that we can pay this consultant, and that consultant has been very patient with us, waiting for over almost a year now to be paid out. So Ede at ash or de nikede de shik edo should net anot so dosha not anot any other Nakanta dai dai not and dog at albe banking on the no siniki. Ye gon hit sagon sa he points no eight ye got that adoshit okoto yat egit ben fan sa case dot so doesn't ben he had ni ben he has see the ben he ben he case so into the case a co here nan the quite shot it aniki open son each other say here shamasan nan not as the don't not say to build your scholarship could not he did say a confident needed or either been a hen is it or the shamasan idea here.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes.
Madam Chair, this is Ben.
Delegate Herman.
Okay, yes, Kudo Njuno Yeni Hasna, Kudo Mr. Sombrero, Kudo Nagata, the intent of the legislation, Kudo Nagata, the purpose of the legislation, A Kudo Yeni Hasna. So in the transfer, solid waste transfer station project, there's 330,000 there. So this legislation is going to take 65,000 out of that 330,000. 330,000 again, 65,000 bihato nestona gaita kwajon to chicho hata yoke kwatona gaita. So 80 ya kwato Mr. Sombrero ya has negi kwato. So arunana kwato Ms. Tapahi kwatona gaita directive he not Mr. Kwato amendment so he not Mr. Kwato. So I don't know if she's done with the amendment and directive. So 80 ya he need Kate was kwato this morning kwato. Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Yeah, Delegate Herman Daniel Otto, Shay, Mr. Sombrero for your presentation on legislation 009523. Ms. Tapahi, is the amendment ready for the legislation?
Yes, and the directive also. I sent those to Peggy and yourself, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I believe Ms. Nakai has mentioned that she has sent it out to the committee. Thank you. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee, do we have any questions? Comments?
I'll offer the chair a motion to offer the amendment directive.
Vice Chair Slater, motions to offer Amendment 1 and the directive to legislation 009523. Do we have a second for the motion? Shredded Delegate Amber Knezva-Crotty seconds the motion for Amendment 1 and the directive. Colleagues, do we have any questions regarding the Amendment 1 and the directive? Ms. Nakai, can you read the Amendment 1 and directive and the directive?
Amendment to 0095-23, 1 on page 3 at line 8, make the following change. Overstrike the words 30 and the number 30, and then insert new language, it's 10 days. So that should be underscored. And then on 2, on page 3 at line 15, make the following change. Shall then underscore immediately enter into. Renumber or relist succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the committee's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistently reached in any other amendment. Would you like me to read the directive too?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, so the directive, Budget and Finance Committee directive regarding legislation number 0095-23, the Office of the Controller, the Division of Community Development, CPMD, and the Office of the Controller shall take all necessary steps to ensure that the chapter receives the reallocated funds as soon as possible so the chapter is able to pay the contractor without delay. So that concludes the reading of Amendment 1 and the directive.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan, for reading the amendment 1 and the directive into record. We have a motion and a second for the amendment and the directive. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee, do we have any questions in regards to the motion? Second call. Third call. I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can you help us with the roll call vote for the amendment and directive for legislation 009523?
Yes, Madam Chair, can I get the motion in the second part on the minutes?
The motion is Shadow Delegate Amber Knesset Party, and the second is from Vice Chair Slater.
Okay,
Oh, I apologize, the other way around. Vice Chair Slater motion, and then Delegate Amber Knesset Party, second the motion.
okay, thank you for that clarification. Roll call vote on the amendment. Margaret Esser, how do you vote? Margaret Esser, how do you vote? Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green?
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Knesset Party, how do you vote?
Shadow vote green, thank you.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Knesset Party votes green. Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
For the record, Delegate Damon votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Model Esser.
I vote green.
Thank you. Model Esser votes green. Honorable Norman Enrique, how do you vote? Honorable Norman Enrique. Madam Chair, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting, and 1 member not voting. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, and thank you, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, for moving on the amendment and the directive. We're gonna go back to the main motion on legislation 9523. Ms. Duncan, can we have second read of the legislation with the amendment and directive?
Excuse me. Amendment 1 is 1 on page 3 at line 8, make the following change, overstrike the word 30 and the number 30. Insert 10 and 10 days. 2 on page 3 at line 15, make the following change, shall then underscore immediately enter into renumber, re-letter succeeding paragraph sections and exhibits as necessary and appropriate by Office of Legislative Services or offices. Legislative Council are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the committee's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendment. Then going to the directive. The directive reads, the Division of Community Development, CPMD, and the Office of the Controller shall take all steps necessary to ensure that chapter receives the reallocated funds as soon as possible so the chapter is able to pay the contractor without delay. That's the second reading.
Thank you, Ms. Naftai, for the second read of the legislation 009523. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee, do we have further questions for the legislation? Second call. Third call. I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can you help us with a roll call vote on legislation 009523 with amendment 1 and the directive?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote on the main motion with the amendment and the directive. Margaret Esser, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Margaret Esser votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green?
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Knesset Party, how do you vote?
Shadow vote green.
Thank you, Shadeja. Honorable Amber Knesset Party votes green. Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
For the record, Delegate Damon votes green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Norman Enrique, how do you vote? Honorable Norman Enrique, how do you vote? Madam Chair, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting, and 1 member not voting. Madam Chair?
thank you, Ms. Nelson, and, thank you, members of the Budget and Finance Committee for taking action today on legislation 9523. The legislation moves on, or no, the legislation, passes the Budget and Finance Committee, so thank you, and thank you to, the sponsor, Triage Delegate Herman Daniels, for being with us this morning.
Madam Chair.
Have a good day. We're gonna move on to legislation 9723.
Wait, we voted on the minute and then we voted on,
Just second call.
did he wanna see?
Oh, okay,
Done?
okay. We're gonna, Triage Delegate Daniels, did I cut you off on any part? Did you want to say anything?
Madam Chair, yeah, I just want to say that thank you to Budget and Finance Committee, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's go to our next item of new business, legislation 9723. Do we have the sponsor, Delegate Dr. Andy Nez, on the call?
I can co-sponsor it if you go grab it. Just want to recess for 2 seconds.
Okay, let's go to the next item. We're gonna go to scheduling a leadership meeting with Speaker Curley in regards to the legislative ARPA funds, and a consultant for the Budget and Finance Committee. Let's see, we have Delegate Lamardo Azar on the call. We have Delegate Amber Knesset here in person, and I believe we also have Delegate Norman Mbige just outside the door, and I believe Delegate Freeman is also almost here. But, okay, we have Delegate Norman Mbige who has re-entered the room. Okay, let's go to scheduling our meeting with Speaker Curley. The Chief of Staff has informed us that the speaker is available typically at the noon hour and before 7. We're doing our meeting with the Speaker Curley. When is the committee available for, or actually, let's offer a date and time and location first, and then we'll do a motion in a second after that.
Did you guys already pass the legislation?
Not yet.
No.
Did you guys want to?
They should bring it over here.
Okay, so we're just going on to the business, C, that's all. Well, we get the legislation 9723 prepared. Chief of Staff, the speaker.
All rise.
Okay, so let's go to scheduling our meeting with Speaker Curley.
Okay.
Do we have a proposed date and time?
We have a special meeting on. Yeah, always. Have a special meeting.
Does the committee want to have a leadership meeting with Speaker Curley, a work session with Speaker Curley, or an informal meeting with Speaker Curley?
Leadership.
A leadership meeting with Speaker Curley. We are gonna have, okay, this is what we're gonna schedule now. We're going to schedule what date is available to the committee within the next 7 days. And the Chief of Staff of the Speaker's Office has informed us that the Speaker is typically available during the lunch hour.
will be on the, I'm kind of like available on the 23rd.
On the 23rd?
Yeah.
On lunch hour or breakfast hour?
What we could do is lunch hour, just,
Lunch hour on the 23rd? Lunch hour on the 23rd?
or she can go on for us, like. Huh?
The
23rd?
The 23rd at noon.
I'm ready to inspire the next generation around. So,
You're not available, what's your next day availability?
but I'm also going to hold up.
We could also do breakfast meeting with the speaker too.
On the 23rd?
On the 23rd.
That's a little more.
What's next Tuesday?
Need a request for this food. Which one's good?
The chief of staff, Manuel Rico?
Taco, maybe? Shrimp taco?
No, you can only get nachos or fries.
We have the chief of staff of the
Salad
office of the
sandwiches
speaker.
too.
We're scheduling meetings with the speaker right now.
What days do you have?
We're talking within the next 7 days, so we want to know what day the speaker is available.
What about Thursday?
This Thursday?
Yeah. I'm trying to get around the call.
This Thursday?
They're about to break for lunch out there, so.
I'm not available this Thursday.
What day is it?
18th.
Yeah,
18th.
I'll try to be as flexible as possible, but I need to be excused for a while.
What time on the 18th?
On the 18th, don't we have a
Mayor Parrish? Hello?
Yes, Delegate Azaritt?
Yeah, on the 18th, I have a dental appointment. Sorry.
How's the 19th before the work session with the FRF office?
Friday? On Friday, I don't know if I'm gonna make it me or Saturday.
Oh,
I can
okay.
do lunch.
We're over there
No,
in
they can't do it.
Nappy, and try to rush over here.
How about, we can do it Monday.
Parrish.
Yes, Delegate Azaritt?
23rd sounds good if everybody's okay with that.
23rd? Okay, I'm also available on the 23rd. What time on the 23rd works for everyone?
12 sharp? 12?
12, and then you're conflicted, right? On the 23rd.
I'm
They
speaking.
don't probably do yours quicker, so.
I mean, if you did something on
What
the
time?
morning,
What time?
I gotta be back in my house by say, what, 45?
What is this?
If you do 7, she can make herself available for 7.
On the 23rd?
7 PM or?
AM.
7 PM?
AM.
As a code.
Okay, we can do 14 days. What is the 14, what about 14 days?
When?
14 days from now, if none of the dates within the next 7 days work.
About before the meeting with insurance services on the 7th.
We are meeting.
How about on 31st?
at 9 o'clock? On the 7th,
I should have. It's not.
9 o'clock.
What time is our meeting with the insurance?
9 o'clock.
How's 8
Is that
o'clock
what you
on June 7th?
8 o'clock in the morning?
Remember, it's important tonight, so.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can.
I'm not available,
Nope.
the earliest I could do is 8:30.
The speaker's getting on the line right now.
What about 9 AM or 10 or lunch on the 1st? Or is that one?
That's not.
speakers?
holiday. Friday, how about that second? On the second, after I get my check.
You're coming to Winter on the 2nd. So, how's June,
Is Elder Chair?
how's June 2nd?
On the
Delegate
second,
What about the
Azar?
fifth? Monday's the fifth.
You guys, can we all use Outlook or no? Is that our problem?
I don't know.
Do you use Outlook for your calendar? Because they'll tell you when we're all available.
that's good to know.
Delegate David and Delegate McGay, I think he's, right? So you need a wand to access this stuff.
But what's the next day?
Well, yeah, the fifth, I'm open all day on the fifth.
Because it changes every day.
Yeah.
The fifth?
That works.
What time?
Or the sixth, fifth or sixth.
You can make it earlier.
About the sixth before the meeting next week.
Yeah, 9 o'clock. Now we're meeting with the office of the president, vice president before our budget and finance meeting.
On that day?
On that day? Well,
Yeah.
that's what we decided.
Okay.
I thought it was.
It's 9
the
a.m.
idea of the day. Okay.
On the next meeting.
Let's make it on the second.
Hi, Chair. This is Speaker on the line. Just joined the call.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's Speaker Curley. Let's just see, we are trying to decide a day where we can meet between yourself and the Budget and Finance Committee. This is in regards to ARPA funds for the legislative branch and other housekeeping items that Delegate BJ would like to raise. Let's see, we're talking as a committee within the next 14 days.
23rd, 23rd local electoral.
Yeah, Speaker Curley, what is your availability on May 23rd? Or Daniel, do you know her availability on the 23rd?
I can make 9 on the 23rd.
9 a.m.?
Yeah.
Speaker Curley, are you available for a 9 a.m. meeting, leadership meeting with the Budget and Finance Committee?
On the 23rd?
Hi, Chair. Yes, I can be able to be there between 9 to 10:30 that day.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask, that's good with Delegate Begay. Delegate Azar, is that okay with you?
That's perfect.
Okay. For Delegate Azar, Vice Chair Slater,
Said 9 to 10:30?
9 to 10:30. Ms. Nafe, is that okay with you? Okay.
Chair,
Just making sure that's okay with them. Yes, Speaker Curley?
maybe beforehand, email a list of topics or that you can send over so we can prepare any documents that are needed for that day.
Okay, we'll do that. Let me check with Speaker Damon and Delegate Amber Crowdy. So how is May 23rd, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.?
May 23rd? In person? Or?
It can be cell phone.
We can do it if it's cell phone.
May 23rd from 9 to 10:30. 10:30? Yep. Okay, Speaker Curley, that works for the Budget and Finance Committee. We will pencil that into our action item today. Thank you, Speaker Curley. Thank you, Mr. Rico.
All right, thank you, Chair and members.
Okay, so we're gonna, item C is gonna read scheduling leadership meeting with Speaker Curley regarding the legislative branch ARPA funds consultant for the Budget and Finance Committee. The date is May 23rd, 2023 at 9 a.m. The location will be the Budget and Finance Conference Room and teleconference. Do we have a motion? Shadow Delegate Amber Canessa-Crotty. Second is Delegate Begay. Colleagues, do we have any questions? Second call. third call. And Ms. Nelson, can you help us with the roll call vote today?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote. Excuse me. Roll call vote on the motion. Marla Ezra, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Marla Ezra votes green. Honorable Slater, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Slater votes green. Honorable Member Kenneth Scott Carty, how do you vote? Honorable Member Kenneth Scott Carty, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable Member Kenneth Scott Carty votes green. Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Roman Gay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Roman Gay votes green. Madam Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's vote, and thank you, colleagues, for taking action on scheduling the meeting. Thank you, Speaker Kelly and Mr. Rico for working with us on scheduling the meeting. We're going to go back to item B, legislation 009723. The sponsor has notified me that they are on the line. So is Honorable Delegate Dr. Andy Nez on the line?
Good morning, everyone. I'm here.
Oh, yes, Ed, good morning. Thank you for being with us today. We are going to ask Ms. Natai if you can read the legislation into record.
Okay, this is a proposed standing committee resolution. Eligible nomination council first year 2023. Sponsors Andy Nez, tracking number 0097-23, an action relating to Health, Education, and Human Services Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee. Approving the Title 5E Management Plan for the Navigation Division of Social Services. There is a committee report that's attached. Human Health, Education, and Human Services Committee has a due pass, no amendment, and a vote tally sheet attached. That concludes reading.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Natai, for reading the legislation into record. Colleagues, do we have a motion? Should Delegate Amber Canessa Crowdy motion? Do we have a second? Vice Chair Slater seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any questions for legislation 009723? Second call for questions. Third call for questions. I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can you help us with a roll call vote today?
Sure, Madam Chair, roll call vote on the legislation. Marla Ezra, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Marla Ezra votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green, please.
Thank you, Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Applicant is Block Carty, how do you vote? Green. Thank you, Mr. Deja. Honorable Applicant is Block Carty votes green. Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Roman Gay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Roman Gay votes green. Madam Chair, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative or opposing. Madam Chair, not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for helping us this afternoon. And with that, colleagues, legislation 009723 is approved at the Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you to the sponsor, Honorable Delegate Dr. Andy Nez, for being with us. I'm going to give some time over to the sponsor if you'd like to say anything.
Great, just thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez. We're going to go to, we've completed our new business for today's meeting. We are going to go back to, or the next item is receive reports. So we're going to receive our report from, I'm going to ask if Ms. Karen Francis from the judicial branch is on the call. Karen Francis? Second call for Ms. Karen Francis. Third call for Ms. Karen Francis in the judicial branch.
Good morning. I am on the call, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, my microphone was off.
Okay, got it. And Ms. Francis, thank you for being with the Budget and Finance Committee today. We're gonna give you time to give you your report today. On the agenda, the report is, our receiving reports A is written report from the judicial branch regarding the art expenditure plan. So we're gonna give the time over to Ms. Karen Francis to give the report today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and honorable members of the Budget and Finance Committee. I did submit the written report on May 11th, 2023, and it is the subject of planning for expenditure of ARPA funds. So the total amount that the judicial branch has received in the ARPA Section 6 funds through Resolution CJY-41-21 is $5,876,685. And the term begins March 11th, 2021 and ends December 31st, 2026. So we did receive the business unit number. It was transmitted on December 16th, 2021. And the budget includes funds for personnel at $272,786, supplies $1,081,590, communications and utilities $75,752, repairs and maintenance $2,661,333, contractual services $1,776,443, and special transactions $8,781. So these amounts were what was unspent from the CARES Act, and that is how we got this amount of funding. And they were in the line items of what we did not expend with the CARES money. So as of May 1st, 2023, the actual expenses were $47,904, and the encumbered amount is $283,078.69. So the remaining balance is $5,545,701.81. Judicial branch has expended 6% approximately. So the funds, they do benefit the entire branch, but the administrative offices of the courts, which provides the administrative support for the entire judicial branch, is taking the lead in expending the ARPA funds. And Chief Justice had directed AOC earlier this year to put together a plan for the expenditure. And we at the AOC did put together a plan with timelines and deadlines. And we've been meeting regularly to hold ourselves accountable for expending these funds. We did, for example, have a meeting this morning. We usually meet every second Tuesday. And we also did have a meeting with program managers and court administrators on February 9th, 2023 to discuss and review the budget with our senior budget analyst. And she is assisting us, of course, with the expenditure of these funds. So for each of the line items, which I put up on the memo earlier, we do have staff who are assigned to take the lead. For example, if it's computer equipment, our IT staff is gathering the quotes and working on the request for proposals. The RFPs are needed if the expenditure is going to be over $50,000. And unfortunately, that has become a lengthy process for us. For the HVAC and pest control, our grants administrator, she has developed the RFPs and she's assisting the judicial districts with obtaining these services. And then our senior budget analyst is working with the judicial districts and programs on ordering the operating supplies, PPE, and medical supplies. So we do have deadlines for all these tasks. However, I think we are running into a problem that a lot of other programs are running into, and that is finding vendors who can give us these services or the products that we are seeking. So it is a challenge to get 3 quotes or submissions, but we are continuing to work diligently. And there have been several times we've had to reissue requests for proposals. And of course, also to seek out other vendors who can provide quotes for us. So for personnel, we do have 2 judicial hearing officers budgeted. However, we are also having the similar challenges that others are having with hiring. So we haven't had any applicants for these vacant positions, but right now we are trying to determine if we can change those job positions so that it will assist our courts. So more than likely, we may be changing the judicial hearing officer, 1 or 2 of those positions to different positions, personnel within judicial branch. And of course, we will be working with the ARPA FRF office on this. Another issue is that some of these expenditures cannot be encumbered. That's, for example, the personnel, it won't be encumbered. It would just be paid out with each pay period. And it's similar like with the cellular service. So even though we have plans to spend this money, it's not encumbered. So, you know, it looks like we're not using it, but those cannot be encumbered. And of course, as I mentioned before, we are working with the ARPA FRF office, in particular with the executive director, Tom Platero, when we have questions about the processes or expenditures. And if we're not able to expend these funds by next month, we are going to request from the ARPA FRF office to do budget revision requests. And of course, in consultation with our Chief Justice, our branch chief. So, and we also understand that if there are going to be significant changes, that would require Navajo Nation Council approval. However, I don't think our budget revisions are going to differ significantly from our approved budget at this time. So that is my report. Madam Chair, if you have any questions, I am here. Thank you.
Hey, I figured it out. Okay, there.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slater.
IT support today.
Thank you,
Paid extra.
Ms. Karen Francis, for providing this report on the status of ARPA, your ARPA dollars. We look forward to the continued discussion. Delegate Begay has a question.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the report, Karen. When you say the 3 quotes, what do you mean by that? Do they have to go back and like the water project, they have to go with 3 quotes or what?
Ms. Francis?
Anything, especially when we're dealing with federal funds, we have to get at least 3 quotes if it's under 50,000. And if it's over 50,000, we have to put out a request for proposals, which has to be advertised. And we have to obtain proposals from vendors. The 3 quotes is if it's under 50,000. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Ms. Francis.
Right, yeah, it's millions, 3 quotes.
Delegate Begay, do you have any further questions? No. Vice Chair Slater?
Unless it is procured.
Unless it
Vice
goes
Chair
to the
Slater?
water department.
Thank you.
This question.
Ms. Francis, I know you mentioned that you may move forward with a budget revision request. And I think speak for myself personally, I'm supportive of however the branch wants to use the funding that they have, the 5 million or so in ARPA dollars. And it's my opinion, you should view that as flexibly as possible. So, you know, as soon as you would like to move forward with the revision and say something totally different, but you think it's going to make a maximum output to the judicial branch, then you know, please get that paperwork together. I'm happy to sponsor the legislation to move it forward, so that you have the greatest amount of time to get things covered that you need. And in terms of the procurement issues, you know, if there's specifics that the committee can assist with, we'd be happy to take those recommendations as we review the procurement code tomorrow and the regulations thereafter. So those two things, and I guess in procurement, I always thought if you at least solicit for 3 bids and say you don't get it back within, you know, a reasonable time frame, then you can still move forward. And I hope that that's an option that's still available to you. And it'd be very unfortunate if you're not getting any qualified, you know, bids for things that you're seeking to procure. But yeah, I just want to offer that, and if you don't want to keep it confined to how it was set up in CARES, then let's change it so that it's better under our bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slater. I'm going to turn the time back over to Ms. Francis.
I appreciate that very much, Vice Chairman Slater. And we will keep in contact with you if we want to, or if we need to do any budget revisions that require council approval. My understanding as well is that if we can at least demonstrate that we tried to obtain the 3 quotes, that we can move forward. And I have been advising our staff of that. So we continue to work toward getting those quotes and also the proposals. We appreciate your support very much. Thank you.
Budget and Finance Committee, do we have, or thank you, Ms. Francis. Does members of the Budget and Finance Committee have any further questions for Ms. Francis's report on the Judicial Branch's ARPA expenditure plan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Vice Chair Slater motions to accept the report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Speaker Damon seconds the motion to accept the report. Members, do we have any other questions?
Yeah.
Second call for questions? Third call for questions? I see, and I hear no questions for Ms. Francis. Ms. Nelson, can we vote on, could you help us with the vote on to accept the report?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll call vote on accepting the report. Margaret Esther, how do you vote? Margaret Esther, how do you vote? Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Rock, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth-Rock, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
Double green.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Norman M. Gay, how do you vote?
Green, green, green.
Thank you. Honorable Norman M. Gay votes green. Honorable Margaret Esther, how do you vote? Margaret Esther, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth-Rock, how do you vote? Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative or opposing, Madam Chair not voting, and 2 members not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's roll call vote. Thank you, Ms. Francis, for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Members, we're going to go, thank you for accepting the report. We're going to move on to our next report, which is going to be from the Executive Director of the Office of Management and Budget. Mr. Bial, are you on the call? The item is the fiscal year 2024 budgeting process, an update on the budgeting instruction manual presented by the Executive Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Mr. Dominic Vial. Mr. Vial, are you on the call? Second call.
Hello.
And Mr. Vial, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We can hear you. The floor is yours now.
Okay. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee and advisors and others listening in. My update, I'm not sure why it's on the agenda again, because I gave the written report last week at the May 9th meeting. So that written report was provided, and all I can say at this particular point, according to today's agenda, it's an update on the BIM. Last week I mentioned that we currently are working on the BIM. There's some new features to it, but at the time it was about 80% done. And I would say now, a week later, we're about 85 to 90% done. And so we hope to have it essentially done by the end of the week or early next week. Subsequently, after that's done, then it would go through the executive review process. And ultimately, we would be seeking a sponsor from the BNF committee for the BIM as well as the overall budget legislation. Again, the target date being hopefully June 6th, your first regular meeting next month. Members of the committee, and very quickly, that's the update of where we are at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vial. Mr. Vial, just expect to be on the agenda regarding the BIM until we move into the budgeting process. And I appreciate that, you know, that you would continue to move on the progression of the BIM. We do, as a committee, continue to put you on the agenda because we expect results. And you know, even if it's a seven days between the last time you reported, we, as the Budget and Finance Committee, we find it pertinent because by code, it is a part of our duties to the Navajo Nation. So thank you, Mr. Vial, for your report today. We will look forward to your next report and the progression of the BIM. We've also met with the Office of the President and Vice President this morning, who has also asked if we have received the official schedule for the budgeting cycle this year, and we did share with them what you have shared with us as draft form and not the actual form of the schedule. So just want to make those remarks and how the Budgeting and Finance Committee is continuing to serve the Navajo Nation and the Navajo people and working with the Office of Management and Budget. Members, do we have a motion to accept today's report? Delegate Begay motions, do we have a second?
I'll second. And Mr. Vial, could you send that that document, the handout that you had last time? My email is not working to look back in time. The time machine is not working, so I'd appreciate if you could just email it to Peggy and me.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Delegate Slater, I'll send you.
Go ahead, Mr. Vial.
Delegate Slater, I'll send you another copy. It was already provided at the last meeting, but
Yes,
I'll
Mr.
send
Vial,
it.
however, that was a hard copy. This is a request for a digital copy.
All right, I'll do that.
We're going to, we have a motion and a second to accept today's report. Colleagues, do we have any other questions for Mr. Vial? Second call? Third call? I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can we do a roll call vote to accept the report?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote on accepting the report. Maru Esther, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Maru Esther votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Councilor Woods Green. Honorable Amber Bakari, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Bakari, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
I will agree.
Thank you, Honorable Seth Damon Woods Green. Honorable Norman McKay, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable Norman McKay Woods Green. Madam Chair, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting, and 1 member not voting. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's roll call vote, and thank you, members, for accepting today's report. Thank you, Mr. Vial, for your report this morning. We hope you have a good day.
What?
Colleagues, we're going to move on to our third report today. It is on the fiscal year 2024 revenue projection. Our presenter today is the controller nominee, Mr. Sean McCabe. Mr. McCabe, are you on the call? Mr. Sean McCabe, are you on the call? If you're on the call, you can press *6 unmute. Second call for Mr. Sean McCabe. Third call for Mr. Sean McCabe. Mr. Sean McCabe is a no-show today, Ms. Nelson.
Motion to adjourn.
Speaker David?
Did you really want a motion to adjourn?
What are you suggesting?
Motion to take a recess and then come back after like 5 o'clock, and then Sean McCabe will have time for us.
After 5?
I'm just kidding. Dave, my question, motion is to, there was action items that you guys had this morning regarding those leadership meetings. So I think that we should schedule, add that onto the agenda, approve those future leadership meetings. The office of the president and vice president.
Oh, the one from the leadership meeting from the beginning of our agenda?
No, from the leadership meeting this morning, to have that continuous effort. So, to scheduling that.
I'll motion to suspend the floor rules to add on an action item on scheduling regular leadership meetings with OPD and controller.
And then I'm going to ask you to modify, to include to rescheduling our procurement meeting, leadership work session tomorrow, because it's not, I thought the whole thing was ready, but it's not ready. It's only 80% of it's ready, so why are we listening to 80% of it when they should have more time to work on it, rather than report on half present, or half document that's ready?
Yeah, but that's only the regs. I think the code changes are ready, but the regs are not.
But I thought, okay, let me ask this question then. It's under my understanding that they want to do it all in one thing. So why are we listening to bits and pieces of it when we should just wait and get it all done at one time? That's my modification to your request. But you don't have to. I'll do it myself.
I think I agree with that. I just.
Can we get a second on the motion, please?
Well, are you seconding with a request for modification?
Yeah.
If so, then I say yes.
Okay, that's my second with the request for modification.
Okay.
Then you said yes.
Okay.
And then you said yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to suspend floor rules to add action items to our new business, and then Speaker Damon modified the motion, but then he seconded, and then he added the motion, and then, okay, now do we have any questions for the motion? Do we have any comments? Second call? Third call? Okay, Ms. Nelson, can you help us with the roll call vote for the motion to suspend floor rules and the modification?
Sure, Madam Chair, roll call vote. Mark Esra, how do you vote? Mauro Essert, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Mauro Essert votes green. Arnold Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Arnold Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Black Carty, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Black Carty, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
We'll agree.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Norman Enrique, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Norman Enrique votes green. Madam Chair, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative. 0 opposing. Madam Chair, not voting. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Elsa, for taking the vote. So we're gonna go to new item, under new business, we're gonna go to new item D, which is,
Hold on.
taking committee action on scheduling the leadership meetings
No.
with the president and vice president for the month of June. So that, the proposed time is June 6th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the Budget and Finance Committee room with the Office of the President and Vice President, and also on June 20th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. with the Office of the President and Vice President in the Budget and Finance Committee room. So that's what I have for that section of the action item. And then the second part to that motion was to reschedule the work session that was originally scheduled for May 17th at 2 p.m. So we're going to reschedule our work session in regards to the procurement.
Both meetings are at 9?
Yes.
Reschedule to where? Excuse me.
I think we need to find a date.
We're gonna finalize the date.
But the 6th at 9 a.m. with OPVP, is that?
The 6th and the 20th at 9 a.m.
Leadership meeting, right?
This, okay, yes, it will be a leadership meeting with the Office of the President and Vice President. As
Can we say the controller?
discussed. Yes, the Controller, Office of Management and Budget, Office of the Controller, and the Fiscal Recovery Office. And I believe this morning, Vice President Montoya and the Chief of Staff indicated the division of. So those meetings will come on June 6th and June 20th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the Budget and Finance Committee room. That's the first section of the motion. The second part was to reschedule our meeting, our work session, regards to the Procurement Act. Colleagues, do we have any suggestions of when, or do we have Ms. Pulaski on the line as well? Or anyone from the Department of Justice?
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Mel Rodas from DOJ.
Mr. Rodas, we haven't heard your voice.
Good morning, ma'am.
Mr. Rodas, can you help us reschedule the work session for tomorrow? Or could you get Ms. Bilowski or could you tell her to get on the line?
Yes, ma'am. I'll contact her right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, colleagues, let's look at our calendars. What does our openings look like for the next 3 weeks?
So we will schedule the DOJ meeting.
Or wait, let's ask how long they need and then we'll go and schedule it.
So it's a question mark for tomorrow at 2, right?
We're not gonna have it tomorrow too.
We're not at the DOJ meeting.
They're not gonna be ready by tomorrow
Okay.
yet.
That's good, we're making the rest a little bit.
Are we having another meeting? Are we having a leadership meeting or or is it a work session today at 3 o'clock? Or how about the one on Friday, is it a work session? So this is all, okay.
Can we call that person and see if we can get it over with?
Mr. Rodas is contacting Ms. Pulaski.
Okay.
The last thing I heard from her was that they should be done by the end of the week, but I think we should, to be safe, do them on. So, I would look at the week of the 5th being, or the 29th.
Okay.
So
Say the 9th?
The 9th?
The 9th,
29th?
or the June 9th.
June?
Yeah, September 29th. I think that works for me.
Oh my gosh.
June 9th works for me. I'll
June
put it
9th,
down.
works. June 9th?
Or the 2nd, either of those are fine for me.
Okay. Only thing I have down on the second is pay the pawn, so I'm gonna pay my pawn.
Is that, I'm trying to think, I'm not quick enough today. I'm trying to think of a joke related to the procurement act and the printer and what we had last time.
Printer's a good example.
I pay my $15 every 6 months.
I guess if I have to.
For Christmas, the whole my best jewelry, you know?
So what's our June 9th meeting?
June 9th.
DOJ?
DOJ on the procurement process.
What time?
Do on the 2nd so far.
June 9th, is that?
Wait, does the 2nd work for you? Sure. No?
I can do.
Yeah, let's see what you got in a second.
How about, I can do the 30th even.
30th?
Yeah.
I can't do 30th.
What about the 5th?
In the email, it says by the end of the week.
Yeah. Is the 5th available in this? That's next. Oh, no, I would trust regional council.
Okay.
I'll skip council, but I won't skip budget. The 5th? Is the 5th available?
Is the 5th available? Let's see. Yeah, that looks good.
Madam Chair, Parrish, this is Delegate Otto Stahl. I'm on the line. Thank you.
Yeah, Delegate, so thank you for being with the Budget and Finance Committee. Mr. Rodas, are you on the call still?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. I'm here.
Mr. Rodas, we have received, the Budget and Finance Committee has received an email from Ms. Catherine Belowski regarding the Procurement Act. I know that you may also be working with her, I guess. The committee received the email and it indicates that the Procurement Act will be completed by the end of the week. To your knowledge, is 2 weeks sufficient, a sufficient amount of time to schedule a meeting for 3 weeks?
Madam Chair, I think that would be fine. I have reached out to Ms. Belzowski and I haven't heard back yet, but I think she's probably trying to get on the line. My understanding is that the act is ready to go, but that the regulations are still being developed. But I think that
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, this is Catherine Baldowski.
Oh, yeah, it's Ed. Catherine, thank you for being with us on the call. We are, the motion today is to reschedule our work session from tomorrow to a different date because we have received your email and the committee would like to receive a full report. So how much longer would you say that the Department of Justice needs?
Thank you, Chair. The regulation should be completed by the end of the week. So if you want to schedule it anytime after Friday, that should be fine. I will say that I highly recommend us moving forward with the meeting tomorrow. I just think that everything's pretty finalized enough to give the committee an idea of what the act and what the regulations are going to look like. And you're going to have to draft the act anyway before you even the committee could approve the regulations. So, I would just think it's probably good to just have you guys hear it and give us some direction, because if we've drafted things in such a way that is not the direction of the committee, we probably need to know that now.
Can you mute it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, for giving us an update. We're excited to hear from you. And
yeah, so Chair, I'm going to motion to keep our meeting tomorrow, and then we'll bring the finalized edits or updates to our agenda on the 6th. So that'll be our next regular committee meeting. So my ask is Ms. Bilzowski that everything's ready to go then, and we'll report on any differences and everything before the committee on June 6th.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Slater.
Six.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Okay.
Do you have a second to the motion?
Well, this is a scheduling thing, so we're already on the motion.
We never changed it.
Okay.
So we just have to vote.
Okay, well,
Because it's still
Unless
on
somebody
there,
doesn't
right?
want
We
it.
haven't removed it,
yeah,
right?
we haven't, yeah, technically we haven't removed it.
Yeah, so it's still there.
Okay.
So we don't do nothing.
Okay, we'll do nothing about it. Thank you.
But in the motion, are we still scheduling the?
Yeah, we still have to vote on the
Yeah,
motion.
Carl Slater and.
We have to vote on the 6th, we didn't vote.
Okay, so
This is all one motion.
So we'll just put our date for tomorrow.
Carl Slater and Damon. Okay,
What's that?
but that was for suspending the rule.
May.
We scheduled the leadership meetings.
That's why. So that's the second.
Nothing of that.
Yeah.
This is
And then the report is going to say that we kept the date. Instead of rescheduling.
Is it, Ms. Nelson, do you have any questions regarding the motion?
No. She was required.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
asking what the, make the motion.
Okay, so the
I
motion
made
is,
the motion and second.
Yeah.
Then we voted on that, and then,
That was suspension.
I guess, and now we need, so I will motion now for,
but we're already in the motion.
no, we're not, for that agenda, I just don't need a motion. So now I'm gonna motion for.
Screwed up my calculation too, I don't know.
Maintaining our meeting tomorrow, and and we finalized the 9th, on the 6th and the 20th, for those leadership meetings with, on the OC, or OPVP. Primarily OPVP is over the leadership.
Do we have a second to the motion to maintain tomorrow's work session?
And then we'll also include this, on June 6th, having a report, the finalized report on the map and the regulations.
I'll third it.
Delegate VA seconds the motion. And for clarification, Delegate Azar, and thank you, Ms. Belzowski for being on the call. We will maintain our work session tomorrow and then receive the final report at our next regular meeting, which is June 6th. And Delegate Azar, for clarification, we're going to, in this motion, we've decided that we're gonna still meet tomorrow, May 17th at 2 p.m. with the Department of Justice here in the conference room.
No, it's gonna be at the, Auditor General's and Government Development Conference Room. It's right between, in their office.
Okay,
This is occupied by Health Education and Human Services tomorrow.
let me clarify that announcement. So tomorrow, May 17th, 2023, the Budget and Finance Committee will meet with the Department of Justice at 2 p.m. at the
Government Development Conference Room.
Government Development Conference Room
Where's that at?
in Winter Rock.
It's just down the street towards the Law and Order Committee.
Oh, down there.
Oh, past the Education Center, you keep going down that.
Law and Order
Government
building?
Development Center. Auditor General's office is in the same building.
In the Auditor General's office.
It's just right past the Veterans Building.
And we'll meet tomorrow, and
Oh,
then
that
we'll
one right
receive
there.
the final report from the Department of Justice on June 6th. We will also meet with the Office of the President and Vice President in a leadership meeting from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on June 6th and on June 20th. That is the motion. There's a second. Colleagues, do we have any other questions? Second call. Third call. I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can you take today's roll call on the motion?
Sure, roll call on the motion. Margaret Esser, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Margaret Esser, votes green. Arnold Crossfader, how do you vote? Thank you, Arnold Crossfader, votes green. Arnold Everton Scott Carty, how do you vote? Arnold Everton Scott Carty, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote?
I will agree.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon votes green. Honorable Norman M. McGay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Norman M. McGay votes green. Madam Chair, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative and 0 opposing. Madam Chair not voting, Madam Chair, and 1 member not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Thank you, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, for taking action today. It appears we have no old business. We have no new business, no further new business. So I'm gonna go back to receiving reports. We're gonna go to item C. And the report is the fiscal year 2024 revenue projection. The presenter is the controller nominee, Mr. Sean McCabe from the Office of the Controller. Mr. McCabe, are you on the call?
Yeah, I apologize. Earlier I got called to another conference by Chief of Staff, so apparently you had called for the report and I was on the phone with him, so.
Okay, Mr. McCabe, the floor is yours for your report.
Great, yeah, thank you, Shinada. Ben, everyone, again, thank you for the opportunity to come before you. I know this was on the agenda last week, last Tuesday, for presentation, and I had indicated that I wanted a chance to review the numbers and talk to my team about it. I think and I know Honorable Delegate Slater had asked for a little bit more of a robust presentation with graphs. I can admit that I wasn't able to prepare the graphs as Delegate Slater had requested. As you can imagine, I've been dragged in 900 different directions, and I'm just trying to get the revenue number, projection numbers off to you so we can start the process of the budget. So what I can report is, I know the report that I gave last time was the same one given by the former controller, Elizabeth Elizabeth Gay, I'm sorry. And I did go through those, and I did review them. I did compare them to prior numbers as is reported on her projections. As I mentioned in the last meeting, I wasn't sure that my review would result in anything different. And I can report that, I can go through the numbers line by line, but I can report that I didn't really find anything that warranted any kind of an adjustment to the projections. I will say this, that I think we should I don't know, I really don't know the budget process yet as far as what we do after the budget is passed. I know revenue projections drive our expenditures throughout the year. We budget accordingly in concert with Mr. Bial over at OMB. But I would suggest to BNF that if we haven't done it before, we revisit our revenue projections on a quarterly basis. And the reason being is, in reviewing the revenue projections that were given earlier, a lot of it is being driven by market fluctuations, or a lot of it is dependent on market-related issues that are beyond our control, and also, tax revenues that can fluctuate from quarter to quarter. There's a lot of different factors that we need to take into consideration. Namely, again, market related fluctuations, but also I think some of our tax revenue needs to be kind of evaluated from quarter to quarter. One of the reasons why I say that is, I know I have an upcoming investment committee meeting where we're going to be talking about several issues. And one of the issues that have come up in the past few days that took some of my time toward the end of last week is Navajo Nation Gaming. And, gaming got my ear and was telling me that, there's a deadline coming up on forbearance of their note on June 30th. I basically reported to them and said, look, I haven't looked at it. I'm trying to get an audit done. My intention is to afford them an extension on the forbearance. But the reason why I bring this up, Shinata, is, there's a lot of things that depend on Navajo Gaming tax-wise that should anything happen to Navajo Gaming and it go into forbearance or even shut down, because that's one of the message I did get, that without, some kind of a specific, reorganization plan that we're to negotiate, they may just end up shutting down Twin Arrows completely, or even some of the others. And I don't know if the impact of tax revenue, the loss of those jobs, the market impact of that has been really looked at. And so I'm not saying we need to solve that now, but I certainly think that as things progress, we need to revisit these numbers probably every quarter, because there are factors that could change these projections from quarter to quarter. Again, namely market fluctuations and maybe some of the impact of the performance of the enterprises, et cetera. I don't know how much of an impact NNGE would have if anything changed in their operations, but I do know it's something worth us looking at and making sure we're cognizant of going forward, namely because of the big loss, as we've all known about the loss in general fund revenue from the shutdown of NGS. So I think those are things that, these projections were put together. Again, I don't have any reason to change these at this point after reviewing them, but I do think it would be prudent for us to every quarter at least revisit these, see where we're at with them, and make sure that we're not going to run into that. We didn't budget something and then all of a sudden there's some kind of market downturn or something that would contribute to our original revenue projections to the general permanent trust fund. I just think that's prudent management. If we haven't done it before, I would highly suggest that, Shinata. Having said that, I can go through the numbers again. I have them here in front of me from the original report. We can start with the initial general fund revenue projection numbers. There's a graph, I think, on page 2. A table on page 2 from the memo dated March 30th, 2023, which was sent from Elizabeth Gay to President Nyron's office, the Speaker, Honorable Curley, and then Chief Justice, Honorable Joanne Jane. I can go through these. We can talk about any questions you may have on them. But again, certainly I think it's worth revisiting at some point. So starting oil and gas, line 1, you can see we've hovered in tax revenue from oil and gas to 27,000 over the prior 4 years. Really, it's kind of been between 19 and 27 million per year. We're projecting 43 it was 43 in 2023, and we're projecting 31 million in 2024. As you all know, those are all market driven. The high increase in 2023 is most likely related to increased gas prices during that year. We're really not unsure. We're not sure, and I'm really not the expert in oil and gas futures, but certainly that's something we should monitor going forward. Coal revenue, tax revenue has come in, or we're projecting at 37.3 million. It has hovered. The biggest year was in 2019 at 61, but in the prior 3 years, fiscal years, it has dropped more or less to between 34 and 28 million dollars. The taxes that come in from PIT, VAT, oil and gas, and others, we're projecting at 58 million, which is pretty. If you look at the trend there, it's pretty much in line with what's happened for the past 5 fiscal periods. Investment income dropped off in 22 and 23. We're expecting a rebound in 24, projected 17.7 million. Land rentals, business site leasing, etc. We're projecting a 71.568 million, which again is basically in line with at least the past 3 fiscal periods. Miscellaneous fees, court fines, etc., 400,000, and miscellaneous other revenue at 800,000. Below that, our projections for allowances for the permanent 12% to the permanent trust fund, 2% to land acquisition trust fund. Those are all driven by the projections above. Higher ed, and capital outlay match funding as well as water rights claim fund, 0 for historical trust land asset litigation, and 4% for veterans trust fund. After that, we're projecting a net of 161.2 million to go to the general fund to support general fund activities. Along with that, always understand that there's the indirect cost piece that also helps with that. But, and I did get a memo from, I think our rate for the year again is going to be 12.9, I believe it was. And that will also help contribute to the 2024 general fund budget. Are there any questions on this first before we move into the other one, the other items that were presented or given to you?
Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Are you looking for documents, or does that conclude your presentation today?
No, I was just looking for questions so far. I can continue. We can go into some of the, in tax revenue, we can go into the details on that. And then I think I have some mineral projections as well to present. But if there are any questions so far, I can take them.
Actually, Mr. McCabe, so the way that typically when a report goes, we just hear the report, then we'll take a motion in a second, and then we'll take the questions after that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I know that you're new to the government, so that's kind of the format that we go in budget and finance. So thank you. Very true. Delegate Amber kind of accounting information. So we're gonna continue and continue report, Mr. McCabe.
Okay. We also received a tax revenue projections from the Office of the Navajo Tax Commission, Ms. Larietta. So in that you see their tax revenue projections when it comes to possessory income tax, the business activity tax, oil and gas severance, tobacco products, the sales tax for non-retail and retail, hotel occupancy, fuel excise, junk food, and alcohol. It should be noted again, Shanata, that these numbers that came in from tax commission, they were scrubbed down and included as part of the overall tax projection that I just gave you. I think that when it comes to the tax side of the Navajo Nation, I'd like to try and not to add too much more on everyone's plate. But I certainly think that, the Navajo Nation should look a little bit more at its tax structure in ways to try and draw more income in from taxes, not necessarily taxing our Navajo people, but certainly trying to take advantage of tax revenues coming in from outside tourism, et cetera. I do know in talking with the president's office and the president himself, one of his priorities is to try and draw in as much outside dollars as we can to help fund our general fund. And I think that's going to be an important initiative given, our decrease in revenues from the NGS closure. And so we probably at some point, during the next fiscal year, I don't know how much it'll play into this initial budget session, but as I mentioned, trying to schedule quarterly meetings with BNF regarding general fund and permanent trust fund revenues, looking at maybe ways that we can try and increase tax dollars coming into the Navajo Nation, particularly again from outside money coming from off the reservation. I think we've all heard the war stories of how Navajo Nation money tends to go to our people and then flows to the border towns. And I think there's, just my work in DED back in 2018, and I know talking with Tony Skurlanis, who is now the DED director, and again, talking with the Office of the President, there's got to be ways that we can really look into how either we import off-site dollars to the Navajo Nation to increase our tax base, or we export Navajo Nation products and services so that we can increase that tax base as well. I do think there's something that needs to be discussed as far as the new GRT tax rules in New Mexico and Arizona that came from a litigation called Wayfair versus, I think it was South Dakota, and where it changed the economic nexus to not the brick and mortar where the goods and sold the goods were originated, but rather where the transaction takes place. If you think of all the Navajo dollars that are spent on the Navajo Nation with online purchasing, et cetera, the point of economic nexus has now become on the Navajo Nation. And we should look into ways how we can tap into that kind of GRT. It would probably take some kind of negotiation with the states of New Mexico and Arizona, but it's certainly something to talk about to see if we can't get more GRT dollars, or in our case would be the sales tax dollars, onto the Navajo Nation, considering the change in economic nexus and that rule from, if we're ordering from Amazon, their home base would be, wherever it is in the United States. We would pay that sales tax wherever that transaction came from. This new law has changed that economic nexus to Amazon headquarters or Amazon warehouse to the point where to the point where the transaction took place, which would be on the Navajo Nation. So I'm sure that's a huge other undertaking that's going to take some time to figure out, but I think it's worth visiting in ways to try and get more dollars onto the Navajo Nation from a tax standpoint. The only other comment I would make on that, Shinada, is I think, when you look at traditional funding sources for other governments, and I've always been an advocate of, I don't know why Native tribes are lumped in from an accounting standpoint into state and local governments. I've always thought to myself that tribes are fundamentally and significantly different than state and local governments, state and local meaning state, counties, and cities, non-federal type governments whose primary revenue generation is income tax and sales and property taxes. I think the tribes rely more heavily on economic development projects and other taxation. And I think it's something that we as the Navajo Nation could maybe take the lead nationally on maybe reforming some of that to try and get, some of these tax dollars that can come in, just based on certain rules, et cetera. But certainly, again, this is just something that we should be looking into and planning for to try and make up some of these shortfalls that might occur in revenue, et cetera. Last but not least, I think we have some mineral department revenue projections that came in from the Department of Minerals. Overall, they're projecting in royalties $83.4 million, 37.7 coming from crude oil, 651,000 from residue gas, 187 from natural gas liquids, 35,000 from coal-bed methane, 5.1 million from helium, 72,000 sand and gravel, 215,000 from water, and 39.3 million from coal, for a total of 83.467 million. In revenue projections, right-of-ways are projected at 65.5 million, with royalty audit recoveries of 300,000. And then what looks like an allowance for the Utah Aneth extension payment of 2.4 million. Projected revenue coming in from Minerals Department to the general fund, 146.9 million projected for 2024. Have that, and I think, and then we have the permanent trust fund income, or revenue income that we're looking which is basically market performance driven on the permanent trust fund. And we're looking at roughly $40 million available to the general fund from total recurring income of $61.5 million. And I believe this is part of the projections that came from the prior controller. I do know that I want to start revisiting some of this. I do have an investment committee meeting on Thursday. I know this part isn't on the agenda, but I do want to get a better understanding of the portfolio. I did have an initial conversation again with our consultant, Joaquin Noon, who is a Navajo CPA. And we talked a little bit about the Navajo Nation portfolio, the risk profile of the portfolio, and then maybe using that as a strategy for higher performance generation from that. So those are things too that I can continue to report on, and hopefully we can meet on this quarterly as we move forward. So at that point, Shinada, I think that concludes. I know you guys have had this same document since March 30th. I did get a chance to review it. I don't have any reason to change it at this point. But again, I do suggest at least quarterly check-ins to see how these numbers are coming in and if amendments do need to be made. So with that, Shinada, and I will take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe, for the report today. Colleagues, do we have a motion to accept the report from the controller? Delegate Begay motions, Vice Chair Slater seconds the motion. Do we have any questions for the controller? Vice Chair Slater?
Thank you. My request, Controller McCabe, is if you could summarize your comments today and put in a written format and send it to us by the end of the week. And then include digital copies of the original presentations you made previously.
Absolutely. I'll get that done. Thank you.
And then, yeah, actually, that's it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slater. Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Typically, when presenters come before the Budget and Finance Committee and they give an oral presentation, they also include a written presentation to the members of the Budget and Finance Committee. Do we have any other questions? Second call. Third call. I hear none. Ms. Nelson, can we, could you help us with the roll call vote to accept the controller's report today?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote on accepting the report. Mario Aseret, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Mario Aseret votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Bakpati, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kines-Bakpati, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Honorable Norman Mbigay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Norman Mbigay votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Bakpati, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair not voting, 2 members not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, for taking today's vote. And thank you to the controller for the report today. Mr. McCabe, do you have any closing comments?
No, and thank you for your patience, Shinada. As I learned the process, I'll definitely get a summary to you by the end of the week. And again, just look forward to working with you all going forward on all this and in the budget and trying to manage this correctly. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Our next Budget and Finance Committee regular meeting will be June 6th, and we look forward to continuing to work with you as well. Thank you for the report today. Members of the Budget and Finance Committee, we are currently on item 8, which is...
Yeah, Chair, would like to be recognized?
Yes, Vice Chair Slater.
Chair, I'd like to motion to suspend the 4 rules to add a new item at the present place in the agenda to approve and endorse for legislation by yourself, the Budget and Finance Committee priorities as you've written them out and distributed today.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slater. Do we have a second to the motion? Delegate Begay seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any questions in regards to the motion? Second call? Third call? I hear none. We're gonna vote on the motion to suspend 4 rules to add the new item, which is the 25th Nomination Council Budget and Finance Priorities. They have been distributed here in the committee room, and also I have emailed them out to the committee. Ms. Nelson, can we do a vote on the motion?
Sure, Madam Chair, we'll call vote on the motion. Martin Ister, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Martin Ister, votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Marcari, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kines-Marcari, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Honorable Norman M. Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Norman M. Begay votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Marcari, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative. Clerk voting, Madam Chair not voting. Madam Chair, and we have 2 members not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Now we're going to go to the new item, which is the approval of the 25th Nomination Council Budget and Finance Committee priorities that have been distributed. They have, the Budget and Finance Committee has met several times to discuss our priorities. The meetings began back in February after the committee convened. And since then, the Budget and Finance Committee has continued to meet for orientations and work sessions and meetings to refine our priorities. Since then, in discussion with the Office of the Speaker, myself, the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, has developed a timeline of how we would then legislate our priorities, and so now the speaker has given the responsibility back to the committee. So since that discussion, I present the priorities to the committee via email and also in person, and that is what we're going to vote on today, to approve and endorse the priorities presented today. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Vice Chair Slater motions. Do I have a second? Delegate Begay seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any questions? Second call. Third call. I hear no questions and comments regarding the 25th Nomination Council's Budget and Finance Committee priorities. Ms. Nelson, do we do a roll call vote on accepting and endorsing the priorities of the committee?
Sure, Madam Chair, we'll call vote on the accepting of the priorities. Martin Ister, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Martin Ister votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Marcari, how do you vote? Honorable Seth Damon, how do you vote? Honorable Norman M. Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Norman M. Begay votes green. Honorable Amber Kines-Marcari. Honorable Seth Damon. Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Madam Chair not voting, and 2 members not voting. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Thank you, colleagues, for taking action on our priorities today. Colleagues, that brings us to the close of the session. Do we have any announcements? I will make some committee announcements.
Well, we should announce how we're gonna cancel.
So with the last action that the Budget and Finance Committee has taken in regards to our priorities, the Budget and Finance Committee will not be meeting today after the regular meeting to discuss the priorities because the committee has taken action on our committee. So we will cancel today's work session following the regular Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Tomorrow, the Budget and Finance Committee will be meeting with the Department of Justice at 2 p.m. in the Auditor General's conference room tomorrow, which is May 17th. And then the Budget and Finance Committee will be meeting on Friday, May 19th with the Fiscal Recovery Fund Office and the Department of Health on Friday, May 19th at 2 p.m. in the Budget and Finance conference room. The committee will have our next regular meeting on June 6, 2023, here in the Budget and Finance Conference Room in Wood Rock, Arizona at 10 a.m. And we will continue to meet with the Office of the President and Vice President, as well as, let's see, what else do we have? We have, those are the scheduled meetings. Colleagues, do we have any other announcements? Oh yes, we will also be meeting with the Office of the Speaker next Tuesday, the 23rd, in regards to the legislative branch's ARPA dollars. Other announcements? Okay, second call. Third call. Before today, the close of today's session, we'd also like to wish Speaker Damon a happy birthday. His birthday was last
Let's
Thursday.
sing happy birthday to him.
Motion to adjourn.
Vice Chair Sladen, motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Delegate Azar, is that you? Oh.
Green.
Yeah, green.
Do we have a second to the motion? Delegate Begay, motion, second to motion. Delegate Azar and Delegate Damon also vote in the affirmative, they vote green. Delegate Begay, how do you vote?
Green.
Delegate Begay votes green. Delegate Slater votes green. Ms. Nelson.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Amber Canesma Karate, how do you vote on adjournment? Second call, Delegate Amber Canesma Karate, how do you vote? Third call, Delegate Amber Canesma Karate does not vote today. Ms. Nelson, we are adjourned today at 12:22 p.m. Thank you for everybody that is still on the call. Thank you, Delegate Begay.